What is up, Edge Nation? Jake Baker here, covering all things football for the Bloomington Edge. We are already into Week 15 of the fantasy football season. Really getting to that playoff time, that crunch time, and we're going to cover the usual for you. It's going to be our standouts, our injuries, start 'em, sit 'em, and our schedule. Speaking of schedules, guys, check out the Bloomington Edge schedule. It is up and on our website, as well as on a couple of my past videos. We have a lot of great home games, 6 home games, 8 away, a lot of new competition. It's going to be a fun year. Be sure to check that out. So our standouts for last week in the NFL, we have Le'Veon Bell, a guy who's up here week in and week out, 39.5 points, getting it done both on the ground and through the air. Then we got DeAndre Hopkins, someone who's arguably the best receiver in the league, over 10 receptions with 149 yards, 2 touchdowns, 35 points. Another great week for him. Rod Smith, someone who did a pretty decent job filling in that void that Ezekiel Elliott left, both on the ground and through the air. Total of 33 points for him. Nice surprise for the Cowboys. Then we got Tony Toe Tap, Antonio Brown, 11 receptions, over 200 yards, 32.3 points. They cannot put a lid on this guy. One of the most explosive receivers in the league. Another guy who's on this list week in and week out. A lot of Steelers this week, and another one being Big Ben Roethlisberger. Threw for his third 500-yard game in his career, which is a record, 44 for 66, and added 2 touchdowns for a total of 28.7 points. Big Ben not showing his age this week. Jordan Howard going up against that Cincinnati defense, 23 rushes, 147 yards, 2 touchdowns, one of the most underrated backs in the league. A lot of fun to watch him run. Injuries this week, pretty tough week as far as injuries go. Carson Wentz, obviously, all of you guys saw that torn ACL that he had. A big blow for the Eagles. Hopefully they can recover. Pretty solid season for them. Then you got Tom Savage, who had that pretty scary injury with that concussion. Looked like he seizured for a minute there, but they put him back in the game. But thankfully, they're going to keep him out this week. TJ Yates will be starting in his place. Trumaine Johnson, another guy suffering from concussions. Kyle Rudolph from Minnesota, another guy questionable. Leonard Fournette didn't practice this Wednesday, so if you got him on your team, be sure to keep an eye on that situation. Mike Davis for the Seahawks, questionable with a rib injury. Marcus Mariota, another guy who's questionable, been shaken up all year long. It's tough to see Marcus Mariota dealing with all these injuries. Josh McCown with that broken hand. Finally, a guy who landed somewhere in the NFL where he seemed comfortable, but unfortunately broke his hand. That Jets quarterback spot's up for grabs. My starters this week, Adam Thielen, a guy who has been a reliable target for Minnesota all year long. 1,000-yard receiving season for him, which is the first of his career. Just a guy with sure hands, and I think he's going to exploit that Cincinnati defense just like the Bears did last week. And then Nick Foles playing the New York Giants. Nick Foles, I understand he's not going to be that 27-touchdown, 2-interception guy that he was back in 2013. But he's going up against a Giants defense that has been struggling all season long. I expect him to have some success and kind of get back in that rhythm that he had a couple of years ago. Then you got Phillip Rivers playing Kansas City. Kansas City's had a pretty terrible defense all year long, and that Chargers offense is just hot to say the least. Keenan Allen and Phillip Rivers have been hooking up the past couple of games. Just a lot of good chemistry as far as that passing offense goes. And you got Dez Bryant, a guy going up against Oakland. Oakland's pretty much been a big disappointment to a lot of their fans out there. And Dez Bryant, I think, is a guy who's hungry to have a big game. And I think Oakland is a place he's going to do that. Then you got Mr. Trubisky, a guy who last time he played Detroit had a pretty solid game, threw for a touchdown, about 200 yards. And then last week had arguably his best game where he threw for over 250 yards, 1 rushing touchdown, a passing touchdown, and a completion percentage that was above 75%. Me being a Bears fan, I think he looked a lot more comfortable in the pocket. And I'd go ahead and give him a start if you got someone that you're not really comfortable putting in that quarterback spot. And then you got Kareem Hunt playing the Chargers. Kareem Hunt finally got back over 100 yards last week, and I think he's going to be doing more of the same against that Chargers defense. That has been struggling as far as rush defense goes. So expect Kareem to have a pretty solid game. My sit-ems this week, we got Matt Stafford going up against Chicago. Chicago made Andy Dalton look pretty poor last week, and I think they're going to try to carry that big win into this next game against Detroit, so I'd sit Matt. Then you got Orleans Darkwa going up against Philadelphia, who has just been a nightmare for a lot of teams on the defensive end, and I think Orleans Darkwa is going to experience a little bit more of that. Then you got Andy Dalton going up against Minnesota. Minnesota has been suffocating, to say the least, and Andy Dalton was abused by that Chicago defense last week, and I think it's going to be more of the same with Minnesota. Then you got Danny Woodhead for Baltimore going up against Cleveland, who has one of the most underrated rush defenses in the league, and Danny Woodhead doesn't get his share of carries, as much as he wants, so I think I go ahead and sit him. Then you got Jamal Williams, and those Green Bay running backs have been getting a pretty big share of that offensive load since Aaron Rodgers was injured. But now that he's coming back this week, they're not going to involve those running backs as much, and they're going up against a Carolina rush defense who's been pretty solid all year long. Then you got TJ Yates, who's filling in for Tom Savage, who's filling in for Deshaun Watson. So they're struggling over there quarterback-wise for the Texans, and they're going up against a defense who is arguably the best in the league in Jacksonville. So I'd go ahead and sit TJ. Here's the schedule, guys. Be sure to pause the video, give it a look. A lot of great matchups this week. You want to keep your eye on a lot of playoff deciding games. So be sure to pause the video and give that a look. As always, I just want to thank you guys for checking out the video. If you haven't already, follow us on Facebook and Twitter for updates on the Bloomington Edge and the Bloomington community. And also go on our website. There we got events that we're at in the community. We always like to go out and try to get involved, as well as a lot of ticket packages and flex packages that are on our site. And as always, if you guys just want to give us a call, we're always open to talking to you guys about events, ticket prices, just talking football in general. So our number is 484-840-3343. As always, guys, I want to wish you the best of luck in the upcoming weeks. Hopefully, if you're in the playoffs, you go and win it all. And hopefully, if you're in last, you're avoiding those terrible punishments you're seeing all over the internet. But I wish you guys the best of luck, and I'll be with you next week.